All right. My name is Hallie, and welcome to my vlog. Today is Sunday, September 17th, which means yesterday was 2 weeks out from my first competition, and I'm so excited. I put up a box on my Instagram stories this week to answer any questions that you guys have. And actually, several came from clients of mine or previous clients, which was really fun. So I have them pulled up here. I'm going to run through them. And this is just going to be a Q&A, just about 2 weeks out, kind of going through how prep has been going, where I'm currently at, what's next, all of those things. So we're going to dive right into it. And I am sitting on the floor because it's just comfortable and it was just easier this way. Okay, so I did look at these questions before, but I haven't prepared anything. So I just kind of looked through them to just have a sense of what they were. But this one is, this is from a old client of mine. After you place and kick serious ass, thank you. What is your post-competition plan? So going into this first competition, I have no expectations in the sense of like placing or anything like that, because this is a brand new experience. So I'm very open to whatever happens. And then I'll get a sense and maybe probably set goals and everything. So after this first competition though, I am going to do a second one 2 weeks later. I wanted to do more than one after spending all this time prepping for this. I wanted really to get the full experience, not just do one and be done with it. So I will do two. And then after that, I already know before I get any feedback that I will need to build more muscle. And that is probably going to be the main piece of feedback that I get is I need more muscle mass, more density, especially in my glutes, probably in my delts as well. So a lot of it with bikini is you want to see more, delt definition and glute definition. So you get that balanced physique. And I know that I need more muscle. And that's actually been a really revealing part of this prep is that I have very little muscle mass. And so that will be what I do after my competitions is bring my calories up to find my new maintenance and then work into a building phase. And I don't know how long I'll be there. That's something that my coach and I will discuss and create a game plan for. But it does take time to build muscle and I'm not trying to rush it. So I may not compete in all of 2024. I may need to spend a good amount of time building before I start another prep. And given the timeline of how those things go and how long, building and then also prep needs to be, realistically, I might not be competing until 2025. So we will see. Okay. What would you tell someone thinking about competing? So this is good. So understand why you're doing it. And one thing that I found so valuable with my current coach, when I told her I was going to compete, I hadn't been coaching with her yet. She was someone that I knew in the fitness space and was working with me more on the mentorship side and still is. But she immediately asked me some really tough questions, knowing that prep isn't for everybody. And if you're going into it for a weight loss goal, I would say do a lifestyle cut because prep requires taking it to a different level, but it's also, a process that you should really enjoy and you should value. And it's not just to reach the end goal, but to have a life within the process of prep. And it needs to resonate with you as a person. And so it attracts definitely certain kinds of people and it is definitely not for everybody. So really get clear on why you're doing it, what you want to get out of it, and know the full transparency of what you're getting into. Like go into it with eyes wide open because there's going to be things that might come up that are really tough and you might feel, the point at which you get to an unhealthy place mentally or physically, and it's going to be different for everybody. So there's only so much you can set yourself up for expectation wise. I went into it knowing full well that I might hit a point that I don't feel well. Thankfully it hasn't happened. But it's, some people from what I hear and what I see and I talk to, like people hit lows and it can be really, really tough. and it can affect all the different parts of your life. And so really getting clear on that and having a good system in place, have a good coach in place, have a support around you. And I would say already having a foundation of discipline, understanding nutrition, understanding training. If you're a complete newbie to any of that, do not go into prep yet. Spend some time just building that foundation first. Feel really confident in your abilities and your work ethic and the ability to stay disciplined and stay consistent no matter what is going on around you, because that is going to be required. And if you don't know if you can be yet, find out first before you start that prep. It's also very expensive, so make sure you're financially set up for that. Okay. What's your calorie deficit from your maintenance calories to right now? So this is actually really interesting because for this last week for sure, but the last few weeks, I have not really been in a deficit. So I will share numbers because I think they're really interesting, but also it's interesting because right now they're changing almost daily, which is just fascinating, right? It's a science experiment. It's really cool to see what the body can handle. So when I started prep, I was maintaining probably between like 1,800 and 2,000 calories. I am 4'11". I'm not a large person, but that's around where my calories were before, and pretty maintaining. And so we gradually put my calories down over the coming weeks. The lowest my calories got in this prep was 1,300. I wasn't there for too long. I'd have to look back at how many weeks I was there. But in the past, I've done lifestyle cuts with other coaches and on my own, and I have had calories below that. And so 1,300 calories is not actually obscenely low for someone my size or also just in my experience. So I was fully anticipating that my calories might have to get very, very low just from what I've seen other people get to. I've heard other stories of getting, under 1,000 calories in prep or anything like that if you need to just continue to see weight loss. But I did have, additional cardio. I have a high step count. I'm training 5 days a week, so my output was also high. And that allowed me to really see steady weight loss every single week. And so lowest I got was 1,300. And then we started to play with having a couple refeed days once or twice a week and see how my body responded to that. Those refeeds were maybe like at the most 200 calories up from that low, mostly, coming from carbs. And then about a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago at the most, started to do a little bit more food coming in. And it was, it was maybe for like a few days. I would then check in with my coach probably like midweek. And so I was then experimenting with like 1,600 calories, 1,700 calories, or doing, a couple days at 1,500 calories and a couple days at 1,800 calories. And so we kind of play around with that just to see how I feel. Part of it too was my body weight and conditioning had gotten to a really good place where I was ready pretty early, probably a month out from my show. So at least a couple weeks ago, if not like maybe 3 weeks ago, I was at a point where we didn't really need to lose more weight. My body fat has come down pretty steadily, and I'm fairly, conditioned in the sense of leanness, where for competing in bikini, they don't want you to be too conditioned where you're really flat, you don't have, muscle definition or pumps, and you see really hard lines. They don't actually want to see a lot of that. They do want to see a little bit of some softness to your frame. So I was getting to a point where I was getting pretty lean. And so my coach was saying that I didn't really need to lose more weight. So now it was just, let's experiment with how my body handles more food coming in. And so experimented with that. This last week, she wanted to throw some higher days at me. And so I actually started last week getting a lot more food and bumped up my carbs pretty high. I had done a few days at like 200, 225, I think. Started at the beginning of this week at 300 carbs. She did bring protein down a little bit, bumped up fats as well. And then after a couple days there, bumped up to 350 carbs. And then yesterday was Saturday, and she's like, okay, let's do another increase to 400 carbs. keeping protein on the lower end and fats stayed kind of moderate. And then thought that would be the last like higher day, but then today I woke up, weight basically was the same. It went up 0.1 pounds, which is nothing. Waist measurement has stayed the same. I've been taking pictures, my weight and my waist measurement every single morning this week, sending it to my coach. And so she gave me more food. Actually decreased protein a little bit more, slight increase in fats, and bumped my carbs to 460. So calorie wise, I am currently just under 2,700 calories for today, which is the most food I have ever had in my life in one day. Yesterday, I was around 2,300, 2,400. I can't really remember, which is also a lot of food. But wanting to keep fiber in a good spot, keep digestion really good is super important at this point. We're keeping salt intake and water intake very controlled, and increased salt intake a little bit this week, but I am controlling all of that. And so just keeping everything as like controlled as possible. Also this last week, my cardio was meant to be very, very light. So just incline walk daily, 30 minutes, separate from my steps that I do, just walks outside. And so no more Stairmaster this week, just to monitor or reduce any potential inflammation in my legs. My body has felt very calm and relaxed, which is really nice. Training has felt amazing. So this coming week, now that we're getting closer, calories will come down tomorrow. I don't know what they will be. Like I said, my coach has been changing them almost daily and just seeing how I respond. And so we'll want to bring calories back down, but then going into the week of my show and the couple days before my show, that's when we'll bump food back up. And so, just seeing how like the range that I can handle at this point will help us going into the days before the show. So I have no answers beyond today, which I'm trusting my coach, and that's the best thing I've done. Okay. What do you think are your strengths and weaknesses with prep? This is something I've actually thought a lot about. So I think part of why I've had a really, really positive experience so far is because the discipline aspect and the consistency aspect is something that I have worked on just as a personal growth goal, and something that I just have really been drawn to for the last few years. And so going into prep, where discipline and consistency and accuracy are absolutely paramount, they are non-negotiables. You have to have those as how you navigate your days. I already had that built as a lot of how I live my life anyway. So it wasn't like I needed to change a lot of that going into prep. It wasn't completely brand new. And so that's been a huge strength of mine. I love systems. And so one thing that I can't help is when there's a change to, let's say, cardio or my calories or something, I immediately adjust what my food looks like, or the time I spend in the gym, and how to structure it throughout the week. And it takes me maybe like a day, and I have a system in place for that. And so like take this last week where my calories were changing so regularly, I essentially, I figured out, okay, I need to make this much rice for the day to hit the carbs, and other carb sources like honey or fruit or something to add in there. And then as my coach, bumped food up, I would just increase a little bit of the rice amount over the course of those meals. And so it was built off of that system, and that's just where I thrive, and I just love it. And I don't take any moment to hesitate or to like dilly-dally. I put it into the plan and I execute it. And so we can continue to see how I respond. There's no point in having that doubt come in or preventing you from actually just doing the work. Like, you just take action and do it. Weaknesses, I would say a lot of this being new is I'm still mastering posing. I don't think that's going to happen this year. Honestly, I think it's probably a continuous goal. Understanding your angles and how to transition and make it look graceful and smooth. I don't know what it's going to be like on stage yet, and I'm probably going to have some nerves and adrenaline and be a little bit shaky, and so there's a lot of that's like makes me nervous, but just the anticipation of it, and I don't know being on stage yet. And so that's essentially I don't know if I'd call it a weakness. I would say because it's unknown and it's a new experience, it's just, I don't have the strength of it yet, or I haven't built that skill of it yet. All right. Would you do anything different? Would I go more or less aggressive? Timing, training volume, etc. So for this prep, honestly, I wouldn't change anything. I am really, really proud of how I executed it from the beginning. I know I need more muscle. That's not anything I'm going to change now, but that is the primary goal going into my off season. And I started with my coach at the right time. I went into it at the right time of year for other things we had going on. There really isn't anything I would change, which I feel really fortunate of. And even navigating some like challenging days or weeks, I still wouldn't change those because that's all part of the process. What experience with prep that you didn't expect your biggest takeaways? And this also was a similar question. What has surprised you the most? How have earlier expectations done versus the reality? So I really thought that based on what I had seen other people go through and heard about, I really thought that I would hit a point that felt really, really tough, whether it was mentally challenging or physically challenging, where I felt like almost like I was suffering and I had to grind, or I was just exhausted or low energy or really hungry or something like that. I was expecting that to happen at some point, and I haven't. And I think part of it is that I've done other dieting phases in the past. I've not done more than one cut a year in the last 4 years. So I've really periodized my nutrition in my year so that I do a cut, I get in, I get after it, I stay consistent, and then I get out of it. And I don't need to spend then more time than one time a year doing that. So I've been hungry before. I know how to handle hunger. It doesn't bother me anymore. And I just have strategies in place like adding more volume foods, timing my meals, keeping up with water, including like the diet soda, which I've cut out since in the last couple weeks. Training, walks, sleep, all of those things. Like I really have dialed all those things in over the years that hunger is just not an issue. When it comes up, it's expected and I move on. I have a really good support system, so that helps too. And just keeping a positive outlook. One thing that I didn't expect, that's actually a good thing, is I didn't expect how empowered and liberated I would feel throughout this experience. Like, it feels really good to see the physical changes in your body, and you feel really proud of that, right? And it feels good to be lean. It feels good to wear different clothes and to just see your body change. That's obviously going to be a positive experience, right? But I didn't anticipate feeling like I was kind of uncovering a new part of myself. I feel actually even like more feminine, more myself in a way, and like I've found something that just like clicks with me and that I love so much. Because I also knew going into this, I was like, there's a good chance I'm going to do this year, enjoy it, but like not want to keep going. And I feel the exact opposite. I feel like I'm just getting started, and I feel like I'm just uncovering this part of myself that's like almost like hitting like a peak of how much I want to see for myself, but that there's like more peaks to follow. And I just want to like keep uncovering what that looks like. And one thing that I told my coach when we started of what my, maybe my word for this experience would be, or this year, is potential. I really wanted to explore my potential. And in order to do that, that means putting yourself in really uncomfortable situations and challenging yourself and seeing where your limits are and doing things that you don't know what's on the other side of it, right? But you have to find out. And when you get to a point where you're thinking about a goal and you're so curious that you can't help but find out, even if you don't know if you're going to enjoy it, if it's going to work out, that's where I got to. And I really wanted to see what my potential was. And I feel like I'm like just starting to uncover it, which is so exciting because I know I'm not going to see what that is this year. And I'm okay with that, but I'm going to keep going and see what I continue to uncover for myself. And I love something unexpected. I actually really like practicing posing. At the beginning I didn't because it felt really awkward, and walking in my shoes was super funny and just sad to watch. But now it feels like good to practice, and it's like building a skill. And I think I just connect with something like that so well. Like I said, I thought I would hit a point where it'd feel really hard. And the things that have been hard are also just part of it. And I wouldn't change that. And how I'm feeling now is so good. And so it's totally been worth it. Am I doing any cardio with prep? So yes, my primary goal is strength training because I need to maintain as much muscle as possible, the little bit of muscle that I have. But low intensity cardio, it has been added since the beginning, and we've kind of ramped it up over the first few months, I would say. And then it has since come down a little bit, and it's kind of just like a good maintenance level. I already get a lot of steps in just how I structure my days and what I like to do, getting walks outside. But cardio was more just like total minutes for the week. I could spread it out how I wanted to. I would do the Stairmaster after my training sessions most days. And then a couple days in the week, I would go outside. So I would do either like an easy trail run around the river here. And on Sundays, my sister and I would do a hike and trail run combo, or just an easy trail run. And I've kept it pretty light. Some of our hikes are definitely more intense, but I hit a point probably by mid-August that I got the harder hikes out of the way. We have my South Sister hike on here. That was the hardest one. And after that, I told my coach even like, that's something I love to do in the summer, but I know as it gets closer to September and then closer to my show, I'm going to rein it in and set that boundary with myself. And so we've kept it really light. But cardio has been definitely a part of it for sure. Nothing intense though. Difference in the categories for competing. So I'm doing bikini. That is the smaller frame. It's definitely more of a balanced physique. You want to see good glutes and shoulders and kind of creating like I guess like an X frame. So you want to have definition up here and in your hips. You want to have a tighter midsection, but not overly conditioned where it's like all just lines. They don't actually want to see too much like muscle striations. So like all of the different parts of your muscles popping. And they actually do want to see it like softer, still lean, but like a softer overall physique. The other categories, there's wellness, there's physique, and there's bodybuilding, and there's fitness. It's still a world that I'm getting to know, but those will all have more muscle. The fitness category has a whole like performance element to it. Wellness and physique and bikini, I believe, are the only ones that wear heels. Bodybuilding and fitness are barefoot. Wellness, you have a greater emphasis on lower body size, and they actually want smaller upper body. So that's going to be more like if genetically you naturally have more muscle in your lower body, that's probably the category for you. If you just naturally have more muscle on your frame and you love the building aspect, then like physique and bodybuilding might be more your jam. And if you have the capacity to build, like the muscle building potential for that. And the posing is all different. So I don't know the posing for the other categories. But, and the suits are a little bit different too. So a show that I went to in May over here, it was really cool to see the different categories. I think they're all amazing to watch, but it's just finding the one that resonates with you, that makes the most sense for your physique, your genetics, and your muscle potential. Peak and prep. So I talked about this already. Peak, honestly, I would say is this week because my weight has hovered around the same number and we've been adding food in and just seeing how my body has responded. It's just so cool. And I had no expectations for it. And I also knew because we're so early that if we, overshot with food that we would just pull it back. And so I've just trusted it and it's just been really fun. And of course, like when you have more food coming in, training is better, your energy is better, even more focused, like sleep is improved, all of that. But I will say that hasn't suffered a ton. Like I still have felt very focused. my work, the attention I give to all my clients, that has not suffered, which I'm really thankful for. My relationships have all been really solid. Training has actually been going well. Even if I'm not progressing each week, I've been able to maintain my lifts really nicely and feel good in the gym, which is important. And mindset wise, I think it's a choice. And so one thing that I set at the beginning of this was I have a choice to be still myself and in a good mood and a good attitude and enjoy this prep. And I think that we can have that control and that say in if we let it start to affect our mood, our attitude, or how we treat people. Like, you can still be a kind person and patient and fun to be around, even when you're doing something hard or when you're doing something that no one around you is doing. One kind of, I would say, a pit of prep. A couple weeks ago, I was just getting some different comments from people that I knew, maybe didn't know so well or anything. And it was just like unhelpful comments. I talked about this in my last video. And that was hard, and that definitely affected me mentally. It didn't make me doubt anything, but it just felt like I just want to feel like positive about this whole thing, and you just can't control what other people will say, and they don't really understand it, or they're going through their own process, or they're insecure in a different way, or anything like that. And some people I wish were more involved or more supportive or excited, but they're not, and that's okay. Since then though, and working through that and realizing like I do get to decide how what I give my attention to, it's just made it so much easier. And then it's just like only good vibes, right? Okay, this is the last question. Do you think this will be your only show? Definitely not. I kind of knew this already when I decided to do this goal, is that part of my personality is just continuous improvement. That's just kind of been like who I've developed into over the years. And so I don't see this as a one and done thing, because you get feedback from the judges at the end of the show, and they tell you things to work on with your physique, certain muscles to develop, all of them for me probably, posing tips, presence on the stage, anything like that. Even like how you peaked or something. They might say, come in fuller, come in softer, come in more conditioned, more glutes, anything like that. But they're meant to give you that feedback to help you get better. It's not about criticism, it's about constructive feedback. And so I want to take all of that with me and then improve. And I hear, a lot of people in the bodybuilding space talk about their time between shows either as like off season or improvement season, which I think is great, because you're then working on, okay, now I have direction to know what to continue to lean into, what to get better with, maybe places that I was really good with, right? That I feel like, okay, keep the conditioning, but build this or something. And so I just want to continue to grow with it. And along with the physique development part of it, I want to see what I continue to grow into just for myself, and to do something that's like just for me, and to explore, myself mentally and who I'm becoming. And I think this is just that avenue that's going to help me do that. And it's already connected me to like such cool people and just a world that I wasn't aware of, even a year ago. And so I'm just excited to continue to experience it and to lean into it and to explore more of who I am through it. So that goes through the questions. Thank you for anyone that sent those in. I really appreciate all of you. And I think I will do another video going into my final week, essentially peak week. And then I will try to record as much of the actual days around my first show. So we're getting down to the wire here, but I'm feeling so grateful how good I feel. Wish me luck with eating all of this food today. I am in between meals right now, but it's a lot of rice, some honey, coconut oil, rice cakes, and fruit, and a little bit of some fats and protein added in there too. So it's been super fun. It's such an experiment. I'm here for it, and we'll see what happens. So stay tuned for peak week video, and then show day video, and I'll come back.